Most men will watch this video, recognize every single sign, and still do nothing. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they don't care, but because the hardest thing a man can ever do is look directly at a painful truth and refuse to look away. It is far easier to explain, to rationalize, to tell yourself a more comfortable story and go back to living inside it. But comfort and clarity are not the same thing, and a man who chooses comfort over clarity will always pay for that choice, eventually and at a price far higher than the discomfort he was trying to avoid. So before we go any further, I want you to ask yourself one honest question, not out loud, just to yourself. In the quiet part of your mind where you can't perform and you can't pretend, don't miss the insights that could transform your life. If you found this valuable, hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more powerful content. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Your journey to growth, wisdom, and success starts today. Take action now. Do you already know? Because most men who are watching something like this already sense the answer. They've felt the shift. They've noticed the distance. They've had that moment, late at night or in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, where something cold and certain moved through them and told them the truth before they were ready to hear it. This video is for that man. What I'm going to lay out are 4 behavioral patterns that consistently appear when a woman's emotional loyalty begins moving away from a relationship. These aren't opinions. They are rooted in how the human mind actually behaves under emotional conflict. And understanding them won't just show you what to look for, it will show you something more important: how to respond, how to carry yourself, how to remain disciplined and grounded in your own identity when everything around you feels uncertain. Because that, more than any relationship outcome, is what truly defines a man. Discipline begins with observation, and the first thing a disciplined man learns to observe is energy. Not what people say, but what they consistently do, how they show up, and what their presence actually communicates. In the early stages of a relationship, her energy toward you was unmistakable. She was engaged, curious, genuinely interested in your world. That quality of attention, freely given, unforced, enthusiastic, is one of the clearest signals of where someone's emotional investment actually lives. When that investment begins shifting elsewhere, the energy changes first. Long before any conversation happens, long before anything is admitted or confronted, the warmth becomes slightly less instinctive, the curiosity slightly more mechanical, the engagement slightly more performed. She is still present, still going through the motions. But a disciplined observer notices the difference between someone who is genuinely here and someone who is physically here, while emotionally somewhere else entirely. Most men respond to this by increasing their own output. More effort, more attention, more demonstrations of commitment. They believe the gap can be closed by volume, that if they pour enough in, the warmth will return. This is where discipline separates itself from desperation. A disciplined man does not chase energy that is withdrawing. He does not negotiate his own standards downward in the hope of earning back what is quietly leaving. He observes. He registers what he sees without distortion. And he refuses to trade the stability of his own self-respect for the temporary comfort of pretending the shift isn't happening. Noticing is not paranoia. Noticing is the first act of a man who refuses to be governed by illusion. A disciplined man understands one fundamental truth about human behavior. People protect what matters to them. And when something new begins mattering, when a new emotional connection starts forming, the mind instinctively builds walls around it. This is not always a conscious decision. It is the brain's automatic response to holding 2 conflicting worlds simultaneously. The existing relationship occupies one space. The new emotional investment occupies another. And to prevent those 2 worlds from colliding, invisible boundaries begin forming between them. You will see it in small things first. Her phone handled differently, answers that come back slightly too vague, slightly too casual, with just enough defensiveness underneath to register as off. routines that have quietly shifted without explanation, a new guardedness in spaces that used to feel completely open. Individually, none of these things constitute proof of anything. A disciplined man does not leap to conclusions from single data points, but a disciplined man also does not dismiss patterns. And patterns are what matter here. The Stoic philosophers understood something about perception that most men today have forgotten. Your senses exist to show you reality. Your instincts exist to interpret what your senses collect. And when those instincts send a persistent, consistent signal, when the internal alarm keeps sounding no matter how many times you try to silence it, the disciplined response is not to override it with hope. It is to take it seriously. You are not being controlling by noticing. You are not being insecure by registering what you clearly see. The man who calls his own perception paranoia in order to avoid an uncomfortable confrontation with reality is not being patient. He is abandoning his own judgment, and a man who abandons his judgment abandons himself. This is the sign that tests a man's identity more than any other. Because it doesn't just create distance in the relationship, it attempts to create distance between a man and his own sense of self. And if he is not deeply rooted in who he is, if his identity depends on her approval to feel solid, this sign will do more damage than anything else on this list. The criticism begins appearing in places it never existed before. Things you have done for years without comment become problems. Your character, your habits, your way of moving through the world, suddenly they are targets. The feedback doesn't come with solutions. It doesn't come with the kind of honesty that helps two people build something better together. It comes sharp, repetitive, and aimed. Most men at this stage turn inward. They begin auditing themselves. They shrink. They adjust. They quietly start becoming whoever they think she needs them to be in the hope that the right version of themselves will bring the warmth back. Here is what a Stoic understanding of this moment demands. Your identity is not subject to her approval. Your value as a man is not determined by whether someone who is emotionally drifting finds you adequate. The brain, when caught between loyalty to an existing relationship and the pull of something new, resolves that conflict by building a justification, amplifying flaws, manufacturing distance, constructing a case that makes the existing relationship feel insufficient. It is a psychological mechanism. It is not a verdict on who you are. The disciplined response is not to argue, not to defend, not to shrink or adjust or chase an approval that is moving away from you for reasons that have nothing to do with your behavior. The disciplined response is to remain exactly who you are, rooted, clear, unshaken. A man who knows himself cannot be dismantled by criticism that was never really about him. Time is the most unforgiving mirror a relationship can hold up. You can perform interest. You can fake warmth for a conversation, for an evening, for a stretch of days. But the consistent, honest pattern of where someone places their time and attention, what they protect in their schedule, what they let slide, who they are genuinely present for, that pattern does not lie. She becomes busier, not in ways that feel organic and understandable, but in ways that feel convenient. Plans fall away. When you are together, the presence that used to be effortless, that specific quality of someone who genuinely wants to be exactly where they are, is replaced by something thinner. She is there, but not there, responding, but not engaging, going through the motions of a relationship that her emotional energy has already quietly left. The anxiety this produces in a man is one of the most destabilizing experiences in human relationships. You can feel the ground shifting beneath you. Every attempt to steady things seems to accelerate the imbalance. And the natural response, to hold tighter, to try harder, to give more, is precisely the response that erodes your dignity fastest. A Stoic man does not hold tighter to what is letting go. He does not pour himself into a space that is no longer making room for him. He observes what is real. He accepts what the evidence is consistently showing him. And then he makes the only decision that a self-respecting man can make when the pattern is clear and persistent. He chooses himself, not out of anger, not out of ego, not as a performance of strength designed to provoke a reaction, but from a place of quiet, unshakable understanding that his time, his energy, his loyalty, and his presence are not things to be given away to someone who has stopped valuing them. 4 signs: withdrawing energy, emerging secrecy, targeted criticism, vanishing presence. Any one of them in isolation could mean something else. Could be stress, could be a season, could be something worth a direct, honest conversation. But when all 4 appear together, when they persist, when they form a consistent pattern over time, a disciplined man does not look away. He does not negotiate with denial. He does not bargain his self-respect for the comfort of pretending. He sees clearly, he stands firmly, and he acts from a place of complete internal authority. The greatest thing a man can build in his lifetime is not a relationship. It is himself, his character, his judgment, his ability to see reality without flinching and respond to it without losing his composure or his dignity. Relationships are built on top of that foundation, and when a relationship begins undermining the foundation instead of strengthening it, when staying requires you to abandon your own perception, silence your own instincts, and shrink your own identity, staying is not loyalty. It is self-betrayal. The man who walks away from what is no longer choosing him, with his head level and his character intact, does not lose. He protects the most valuable thing he owns, himself. And everything built from that point forward is built on something unbreakable: